Well, it's my pleasure to be with you,
Это моя честь.
and I'm very thankful for inviting me, giving me opportunity to present our research papers. So, as you know, my workplace is not very far from here. It's about 10 minutes driving.
Как вы знаете, я здесь работаю недалеко, в 10 минутах езды. Коллеги.
Anyway, the topic today I'm going to present is very much applied version. I know the prior literature, all the speakers were focusing on theory side, but I will focus mainly the applied side.
Тематика моего исследования будет посвящена прикладной части, не теоретической.
So the topic today I'm going to present is geoeconomic fragmentations, Russia and EU trade, energy trade, integration or disintegration.
Итак, тематика исследования — это геоэкономическая фрагментация и дезинтеграция энергетической торговли между Россией и странами Евросоюза.
So I'll try to deal the three important issues. The first is, does dependency on Russian energy hinder the local energy capacity in EU and OECD?
Я попытаюсь ответить на 3 исследовательских вопроса. Первый — это снижает ли зависимость от российской энергии энергетические возможности в Евросоюзе и странах ОСР.
The second is European and industrial production in the face of energy dynamics and geopolitical shocks, mainly whether European industrialization somehow is vulnerable with energy and geopolitical risk.
И вторая тематика будет посвящена европейскому промышленному производству в фокусе геополитических рисков и динамики энергетических рынков.
And the last, the conflict, sanction, and sectoral inflation in EU is structural break analysis.
И третий раздел исследований — это структурные сдвиги в разрезе конфликтов, санкций и инфляции, отраслевых инфляций в Евросоюзе.
I initially thought that it will be a simultaneous translation. So when I'm taking a pause, I'm sure that it will take time, and I'm not sure whether I can cover all of them or not.
Ну, изначально предполагала, что мы думали, что будет синхронный перевод, поэтому немножко медленно будем докладывать.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Well, yeah, perfect. So Russia and EU energy trade integration, and historically they maintain that trade integrations. So it posed research questions. So whether these trade agreements was beneficial for the both sides. So probably the answer is very easy, but you know, academicians can be very critical. So there are two strands of thoughts regarding these things. So the first strands of thoughts, they talk about in the short run, yeah? In the short run, both parties are winners because Europe needed energy for their industrialization, very heavily industrialized economy. And in the modern economy, energy is the bloodline. It is equally important like labor and capital, which is regarded as a natural capital. And what about Russian economy? Russia is economy blessed with natural resources. So it is easy to extract and sell and to earn money. That's a hydrocarbon economy. So what happened in the long run? In the long run, the proponents believe that it give up leverage to Russian economy or Russian politician to leverage to influence European domestic politics and creating the dependency on Russian energy because it was going through the pipeline. And the Russian side, that it created kind of a myopic behavior because they're enjoying the flows of hydrocarbon. So what is myopic behavior in economy? The myopic behavior is the short sight. Short sight, you cannot realize the long run potential. So right now, Russian nominal GDP is 2 trillion. And if you compare with Norway or UAE or Qatar or Brunei Darussalam or Singapore, so per capita income is much lagging behind. So what is the potential Russian GDP? Anyone can say? So some people believe that, okay, it can be much more higher than 2 trillion, maybe 5 times, if they utilize the maximum potential of the Russian GDP. So anyway, so in Europe, apparently they are approximately 40%, they were relying on Russian energy, particularly in Germany, with a 35% of gas supply, they rely on Russian energy. So this over alliance or this trade integration, when suddenly something happened, it of course disrupted in both sides. For example, when there was a pipeline, it has a huge initial cost. So if it does not operate, so meaning that average cost will be very higher when there is no operations. So there is a significant deadweight loss according to economic theory. Yeah. Need to translate? All right. So now I'll try to show the empirically what happened in the both sides. In the most of this work is done by my PhD students, those who are sitting here. You can see them. And they published in the top class journal, including Energy Economics is the #1. Why I'm stressing this point? Point is that they have potential and they needed a little guidance. And exactly it happened. They could publish it. When it is true for my student, it is true for Russian economy as well. So from the AI, I tried to build up all this agreement during the history between Russia and Europe. And most of you know this partnership cooperation agreement, YAML, Euro Pipeline, Nord Stream Pipeline 1, Pipeline 2, and so on and on. So it created a dependency. Now the question is whether this dependency on Russian energy somehow hindered the local energy capacity of these countries or not. So this is not very easy to answer because there are many factors are working behind of it. So we try to take our dependent variable is mainly the local energy capacity of those countries who keep importing from Russia, meaning reliance. Now this reliance is not a dichotomous, not like 0 and 1. Those who know very well the causal inference or the treatment analysis in empirical economics. So here our case is like some country may rely on 10%, someone rely on 20%, which is not same. So it's like if you have a headache, you will take a paracetamol. Paracetamol 1 dose and 2 doses are not the same. So likewise, those who are relying on 10%, 20%, 30%, all are the different. That's why we apply the dose response function. So dose response function is something very new to understand the counterfactual analysis, meaning when you have a treatment variable, which is continuous, and we have an outcome variable, which is the local energy capacity. So this is the descriptive analysis. You can see the mean, all my sample country, their mean reliance on Russian energy around 30%. So some country we have taken those who are not relying. So it's a minimum value is 0. So maximum value is 165%. What does it mean? A country reliance is more than 100%, meaning that some country were importing from Russia more than they need. So they were exporting by importing from Russia, like Lithuania previously. So it's 165%. Understand? So these are I'm trying to skip this descriptive analysis. You can see from the diagram. So all these countries, their reliance. So obviously in some country like Germany, like Bulgaria, Lithuania, Latvia, their reliance on much more higher in Russian energy, like Finland. So this is the main analysis, the first research questions, whether this reliance really hindered their local energy capacity. So I will focus on the second part, that treatment effect functions. So the vertical line represents the total energy capacity, which is logarithmic. So when it is above 0, meaning it's a higher capacity than lower capacity, this is the treatment level from 0 to 100% if they rely on importing Russian energy. So you can see up to 20% when they are importing from Russia, they face a negative, declining the local energy capacity. Then from 20% to 40% slightly increase, then it again, the local energy capacity decreased. So which is in line with economic theory. If you can buy something cheaper with other economy, it will hinder your local potential to generate. Because why? You need to spend more money to locally. So that was the perfect concept in globalizations or the comparative advantage theory. So there is a big issues in terms of the sustainability. One of the important goal that, okay, if you want to ensure energy security, then you have to move to the renewable energy, even in one of the important sustainable development goal. But what is renewable energy is that is perfectly substitute with the fossil fuel or hydrocarbon energy. So the evidence shows, in our analysis shows, it's not really that not much. There are a lot of challenges to generate the renewable energy, especially Europe. First is the what about the sunlight, then the wind, and it requires a significant amount of minerals like copper, nickels, or rare earth. Still, they have the disadvantage to produce it, while the Russia has advantage or the blessed with these natural resources, including the critical minerals, those are needed for energy transitions. So we see that, when they are relying on these things, their local renewable energy, even capacity had gone down, but not that significantly comparing the total energy. So I don't know why it's not working. So this is the similar pictures we got when we disintegrate with the solar energy or the wind energy. That yes, those countries heavily rely on Russian energy. They experience a sluggish growth or negative growth of the local renewable energy comparing with the country those who didn't import from Russian energy. So the summary is very straightforward that yes, when you will get the cheaper energy from somewhere, that will working as a detrimental factor to utilize the renewable energy because of the cheaper energy sources. And when the market force is really not working, thus the government intervention is required. So Europe has have taken a lot of the policies, which is called environmental policy stringency. But sometimes when politics comes in this policy, for example, right now they impose a high tariff on importing electric vehicle from China, which is very much contradictory with the Green Deals. So now the second question is the European industrial production in the face of geopolitics and energy crisis. So we have taken the data for European industrial index, production index, and manufacturing index, and we apply some kind of a econometric and econometric approach, which is called the panel VAR model under GMM framework. And you can see this last column, is there any energy shocks, how their industrial production is going down here. Then when there is a geopolitical risk, also you can see that initially it increasing, then it is decreasing. This is similar with when we had taken geopolitical act, which is more pronounced, meaning some beginning of any escalations. We can see that, yes, their industrial production is going down. In the same for manufacturing sectors. So the manufacturing sector is more vulnerable than overall industrial sectors. Since Europe is very heterogeneous, we cannot take all the country in same basket. So we try to do decomposed analysis to see how the response of industrial production varies from country to country. So we can see that some countries is really very vulnerable. For example, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Portugal, and in funny thing is that in some country even benefited with these things. For example, Ireland or Hungary or some. So the answer is very obvious, I think. The thing is that though European Union, that's a union, but still they have some many commonness. At the same time, they have a lot of heterogeneities with the economic growth and the size and other things. And their political relations with other country plays a very big roles in terms of their energy industrial vulnerability. The last things is about inflation, which is the a social evil, which is associated with the standard of living of the very people or every people. So here we try to deal with the very recent data, meaning once the conflict started, Russia-Ukraine conflict started and they stopped buying Russian energy. So what is happening exactly? I try to give a very empirical shape of it. So we have taken the three types of inflation of Europe. You can see this is the energy inflation, food inflation, and core inflation, which is apart from the energy and food inflation. So in this diagram, it is very clear that there is a jump in inflations. If you see the red one, in recent time when there was a conflict started, but during the COVID, it becomes even negative. So in this data set, we have a many structural break. So we apply some kind of a structural break analysis, and we found some breaks. First is the relating with the COVID, when the price gone down of energy price, and almost all the prices associated with energy. But when the conflict started, meaning post-COVID, there was a high jump of energy as a historically very high. So this is the break analysis. We have shown that, okay, the country is still buying or relying on Russian energy versus those countries are not. So we have the three structural break. One is the normal time from 15 till 2021. Then the COVID outbreak is started. Then the conflict time. So here is the first when the country is not buying Russian energy. If you can see this road plus points, so they are encountering a higher inflation than the country, those are still relying on it. This is similar with food inflation because energy is a very important factor of production. So if there was a factor price increase, that will eventually lead the cost of production in everywhere. So it is true also the food inflation and non-energy, non-food inflation. So there was a general inflation in EU. Then we try to see that what is the impact of those countries relying on Russian energy. So of course, obviously in general analysis that their energy inflation, all inflation was lower as our coefficient shows is negative and significant. And when this conflict started, this is structural impact was positive. Then here we found one of the interaction with the conflict and reliance on Russian energy, which is positive. So this doesn't make sense because why? Since it is politically or economically not correct that those countries still buying from Russia after the conflict, after the violating sanction, why the coefficient should be positive. So we found that there was a basically endogeneity problem, meaning that some country was bound since their inflation becomes so high, then it was a reverse causality. So because of the higher inflation, they were buying from Russian energy. So when we deal with this endogeneity problem, our coefficients become negative and significant, which is very much important aspects in this analysis. And this paper was submitted in European political economy. We got rejection because they said this researcher used Russia-Ukraine conflict, not war. So that was the very reason. But I was thinking that academicians should be more liberal, more factual. So the politics enter into even academia, which is not really good. So always we'll try to hear the one side of the story, but we should hear from the both side to conclude. The people should know everything to overall concluding these things. So anyway, so the conclusion of this study is that, yes, basically this trade in energy agreement between Russia and EU, it gives enormous short-run benefit, but the long-run cost that is because of the geopolitical risk. And the policy implication is that always cooperation. That's the way to look forward. So last month I delivered this lecture in Austria. So one of the participants, he was working in OPEC headquarter in Vienna. So he said that, Kazi, we are cooperating with America. So why do you say cooperation? I said that cooperation is not holistic cooperation. You are cooperating with the USA, but you are buying energy with a 3 times higher price. So how you call it cooperation? So I end up with a story. So I do not have time anyway. So the cooperation is the only way to look forward, which is Nash equilibrium, not to cheat any other parties, and both parties will be the winner. Everyone will be winner. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be open for you.